Today is Monday, November 27th. The time now is 6 p.m. and I will call to order this regular meeting of the Town of Mead Board of Trustees. In accordance with the town's remote participation and remote meeting policy adopted by the Board of Trustees on March 13th, 2023, by resolution number 21-R-2023, remote participation will be allowed. The meeting link has been provided on the town's website and designated posting place 24 hours prior to this meeting. I'd like to remind everyone present, both in person and virtually, of the town's general guidelines for public comment at open meetings and public hearings. Copies of these guidelines are available online and at the entry table. There are 2 public comment opportunities on the agenda tonight for you to address the board on any subject, whether it is on the agenda or not. If you are here to comment about the public hearing for municipal code updates, you will be allowed to do so during the agenda time. Mary, roll call.
Mayor Whitlow.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Cartwright.
Here.
Trustee Adams. Trustee Broadhead.
Here.
Trustee Harris. Trustee Parr.
Here.
Trustee Shrans.
Here.
Mayor Whitlow, today is Monday, November 27th, 2023, and you do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Please join me in a moment of silence in remembrance of our loved ones who are no longer with us this holiday season. Thank you very much for your time. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Next is our review and approve agenda. Are there any changes to our agenda tonight? Okay, hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make the motion to approve the agenda as is.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Mary.
Trustee Shrans.
Yes.
Trustee Broadhead.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cartwright.
Yes.
Trustee Parr.
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes. Thank you. Motion carries. We have an agenda for this evening. Next is our staff report by our town manager. Ma'am, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor, trustees. You have my report. I would like to highlight a couple of things. First of all, before I forget it, we would like to have a retreat with the board early in January. And so we're proposing the date of the first Saturday in January, which is the 6th. Think about it. Mary will be putting out an email tomorrow. I know you are going to be indisposed. Okay. Does it sound like we were thinking after coffee with the mayor? Does it sound like that would work for the rest of the trustees? Okay. So we'll try to pencil that in. We have some ground to cover, from our last retreat, and just looking forward to 2024. So that's awesome. I would like to invite all of you to drive out and take a look at Red Barn. I don't know if any of you have been out lately, but it looks fantastic out there. The road improvements to 13, the sidewalk along 13, the houses are beautiful. It's a really nicely located. It's really coming together really nicely. There's, I don't know, probably 15, 16 houses up already. So go take a look. Then I just wanted to bring to your attention, I'm sorry I've sent you 3 different emails with 3 different dates for that opening, but it is on the 7th, and this is for opening up the express lanes. And I just also want to, that'll be a big thing. The governor will be there, probably a lot of dignitaries, but more importantly, those lanes aren't open, but people are driving in them. I came from the stadium last night. I went to the Broncos game, and there were people going like 90 miles an hour in them. And it's super dangerous because you could be driving in it, and then all of a sudden there's something there like a work setup. So hold your horses till next week. But plans are they're going to be opening them up. They look like they're open, as I said. So Very exciting. And then just finally, that pile of dirt that does look like they're building an interchange at County Road 38, that isn't an interchange. That's just a storage pile. And I know it's getting huge. But in our last board meeting of the year on the 11th, Abra will be coming from CDOT to talk about everything going on that segment. But if anybody asks you about it, please reinforce. That's not an interchange. That's a stockpile of dirt.
We have seen people actually use it.
I know it's starting to look like a makeshift interchange. Like, did you see the movie Speed? Remember when they went over that bridge that ended? That's what it reminds me of. But yeah, we'll bring that up. So, and that's all I have. And I can answer any questions on my report.
Sorry, Helen. Questions or comments for Helen? All right, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it. Okay, next is our informational item for this evening. That will be introduced by our Public Information Officer and Community Engagement Director, Lorelei Nelson. Welcome, ma'am. Thank you very much for being here.
All right, so I'm going to chat with you about EV charging. There is a variety of benefits to EV charging stations. A lot of municipalities are starting to implement these in their municipal facilities. As you can see on that map, all those little green dots are public charging stations. And there's a gap right around Mead. And so what we're looking at is adding a hub at Town Park right here in the parking lot. And some of those benefits include economic development, bringing new visitors, people that are looking for a charge, heading from Fort Collins or Denver, stop off in Mead. Maybe they'll charge up for an hour and walk down Main Street, visit a restaurant, check out our park. So there's a lot of different things that potentially could help in economic development. There's obviously the environmental sustainability and being good stewards to the environment and wanting to promote that nationwide initiative into EV. And keep in mind that these hubs are owned and operated by the town. They are not rented or leased. They are owned by the town of Mead. And as you know, we did receive a grant for a level 2 charger. This was a $12,500 grant. It is one charging station with dual port, so 2 charging options, 2 charging stations on there. Part of that grant was a commitment to do 5 years of maintaining the charging stations. The level 2 that we're receiving is 2.5 faster than your standard level 2. So that means it's going to charge a little bit faster than what you would get if you have your level 2 at your home. And part of the grant was making sure that the design of the EV charging station is accessible. And you can see on that picture, accessible means we have space for those that are using wheelchairs to use that EV charging station. So the charge rates for public charging stations vary considerably. I did a little research on different municipalities and kind of what we're looking at. And like I said, it's kind of all over the place. So how it works is each municipality sets up their own rates, their own standards. For example, Brighton has the first 60 minutes free, and then they charge $2 per hour after that. Fort Lupton uses a per kilowatt hour usage. So they have a flat rate of 25 cents per kilowatt hour. That equals out to about $1.65 per hour. And there's also additional fees that municipalities tack on. Erie, for example, they charge 99 cents per hour for 4 hours, and then $25 an hour after that initial 4 hours. And that's considered a rotation fee. And the premise behind that is that you don't want somebody to park there, charge their car and leave it there for 8 hours, not allowing others to access it. There's also what is called idling fees. So idling means that you come in, you charge your car, it's at 100%, but you don't remove your car from the charger. You keep it there. There's a sensor in the charging station that lets you know when your car is charged and that you need to move it. For those folks that don't move it, then they're charged a fee for sitting there, taking up that space and taking up that charging station. So what we're considering the town hall charging is kind of a pilot project, right? We're dipping our toes into the EV stations, trying to figure out what's going to work best for us. These are charge point hubs. Like I said, it'll be right out here in this parking lot. We are proposing a trial period for our rate structure. We want to get a good idea on the energy that is going out and the revenue that's coming in, especially considering that we have stations designed for the community center and the public works facility is also EV ready. So we want to take this time, look at our rate structure, kind of review it for several months to a year to figure out if this is going to work for us, and we can make changes at any time. So considerations, a lot of factors, like I said, go into this. United Power will be charging us 10 cents per kilowatt hour. In Mead High School, they have an EV charger that's primarily used for teachers and students. Their flat rate is 10 cents per kilowatt hour. So they are charging what they are offloading. It's equals out, if I could speak. So they're charging what United Power is charging. They're not adding on any additional fees. They don't have idling fees. They're pretty much always in use. Every time I get onto that ChargePoint app, they're being used. And like I said, that's primarily for the teachers and students out there. Another thing to consider when we're looking at this is public employees. A lot of municipalities, like I said, varying rates. Some of them offer discounted rates to employees, other offer free charging for employees. And then also the economic boost. Is this going to draw folks in? Are people going to stop and charge up their car? Are they going to stop at the community center, charge up their car and go visit different places? So what we're proposing is the first 60 minutes for free, a 25 cents per kilowatt hour after the first hour, and an at-cost charge for employees, an idling fee of 40 cents per minute, and a rotation fee of $25 per hour. Keep in mind the folks that are using the charging station, it all goes through an app. So they're not going to get hit with those idling fees or the rotation fees by surprise. They will get alerts. Several of them. They have a 15-minute grace period as well. So if they are at 100%, they have 15 minutes or so to move their car. And during that time, they're getting alerts letting them know, hey, if you don't move your vehicle, let somebody else charge, you're going to get a fee on top of that. Any questions?
Herman, first, go ahead.
I have a few.
Okay.
First of all, can you tell me what kind of charge stations we're going to put in by brand?
A charge point?
Is it a charge point?
It is
Station?
ChargePoint,
Okay, so
yes.
they're all going to be charge points.
They are going to be charge points as of right now. The grant is for charge point. That's what it was for. So that's what we're getting.
Are any of these superchargers, fast chargers?
They are not superchargers. That is something that we did look into. However, that requires, most likely require a separate transformer for a supercharger, and that is buku bucks. And the grant doesn't offset that to make it feasible.
Okay, so we'll end up with two charge stations?
So yeah, it's one hub.
One
but
with two.
Yep, two
So
spaces.
I can
That's
do two
correct.
cars at the same time,
Yes.
is that? And they're going to be similar to a level 2 charger time-wise, so we could conceivably have two cars tied up for 3 or 4 hours.
They are, they're faster than a level 2.
2.5%
Yes.
faster.
Yep.
Okay. Installation, will we install them? We being the town?
So part of the grant is to use a certified installer. So that means national car charging and a certified electrician that specifically does EV charging installations. And so we're facilitating all of that. The town is not installing it. We are making sure that they know where it needs to go and they're handling everything else.
And how will people know that they're there?
Through an app. So it'll be on the ChargePoint app, but it'll also be on any app that you use. If you Google public chargers, there's tons of different resources and it'll be listed as Town of Mead Town Hall.
Okay. Have we investigated with United Power any rebates for installation?
I did speak with United Power and there are not rebates for installation for us, but their fee was pretty nominal.
All right, that's all I have. Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, I have a cute few because I don't own one. How long does it take to charge a car? And are cars different? If a truck is an EV and a car is an EV, does it take longer to charge?
It depends on a lot of different factors.
Okay.
So generally when you're looking at public charging stations, you're not going to have somebody that's sitting there for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours. It's kind of a top off. So they're coming in and they want to get to 20%. And so they'll come in, charge up for an hour, 2 hours, add a little bit more juice to get them to their next destination. That's generally how it works. If you're going from 0 to 100, it's going to take about 8 hours.
Okay. Do you have to be inside the vehicle to charge?
You do not.
Okay. The income that's coming from the chargers, where's that income going to, where's that income going towards? Is it going towards new EV stations? Is it going to what?
It's just listed in the general fund now as to where that income would go, but there's no reason. that
It
we
goes
couldn't.
to us is
Yeah.
the answer.
Okay. I just like to see something, that we've collected and to go to if we have another facility that we're looking towards
Exactly.
getting
That's why
that
we want-
monies towards
Right.
another EV station somewhere along the line, that
That-
income.
That's why we wanted to evaluate it to
Mhm.
see how much use it gets and how much revenue it generates.
Okay.
Some places are jacking it up now because they're getting a lot of use and it's actually making them money. But we wanted to kind of float it out there just to see how it works. And then when we look at the community center, we'll look at A, do we want charge points? And B, do we want to raise the rate, keep it the same?
Okay. All right. Listen, new territory. One last one. Is there a cost for the ChargePoint app?
No.
No.
Okay. All right. That's all I had.
And like I said, you can find that map that I brought up earlier. That was on the United States government public charging stations. So it would also be found there. Tons of way to find charging stations.
And Herman has one last question. Oh, and then Chris.
I wanted to help you. Being the owner of an electric car, I might be able to help answer some of those questions. So on the average, an electric car charges about 10 miles per hour. So you put it on for an hour and you get about 10 miles at additional charge. To Lorelai's point, people will use that when they get too low and they start getting nervous. So, and I'm talking for my wife here because she got down to 35 miles left and she's in Boulder and she hits the panic button. And so she is looking all over for Boulder to find it. And she finds lots of them, but it takes her a while to gain just enough miles to get back home. So the point is that there are situations where you will have cars sitting out there for some period of time going through. They're not going to go to 100%, but just to get them to enough miles to get to where they're going to at 10 miles an hour. If you got to go 30 miles, you're going to be there for 3 hours.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Chris.
Insurance wise, there's been a a rash of thefts of the charging cables. I didn't know if you knew that. Are we going to be insuring them, or will they be CIRSA insured, or how will they be insured?
They would be covered by our general CIRSA insurance, but we also have cameras out there, so that's
Okay.
gonna help.
Yeah, the copper that's in the cables
Mm.
is highly desirable. So
Thanks, Lorelei, very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
As
Oh,
soon as
sorry.
we can get them in to install them, Lorelei's been working with them. So yeah, hopefully in the next month.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to our proclamation for tonight. We have Business Appreciation Month for this upcoming December 2023. I asked Trustee Parr to read the proclamation tonight.
Business Appreciation Month, December 2023. Whereas small businesses play essential roles in strengthening our community throughout innovation, creation, and expansion, and whereas the town of Mead recognizes the accomplishments of Mead's entrepreneurs, small and medium-sized businesses, and major employers that contribute greatly to building and sustaining Mead's economy, and whereas the jobs created by the business community support the quality of life that the Mead residents enjoy, small businesses operate in diverse industries, including manufacturing, services, retail, marketing, agricultural, and whereas the revenue generated by the business community allows the town of Mead to provide services that positively affect the quality of life for its residents. And now, therefore, Colleen Whitlow, Mayor of the town of Mead, does hereby proclaim the month of December 2023 as Business Appreciation Month and encourage all residents to support our businesses, community, and their contributions to our economy by shopping locally. Given under her hand and seal, the town of Mead, Colorado, on this 27th day of November 2023.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion to approve the signing of this proclamation?
I'll move to sign the proclamation.
Second,
All right, roll call, please, Mary.
Mayor Pro Tem Cartwright,
Yes.
Trustee Broadhead,
Yes.
Trustee Shranz,
yes,
Trustee Parr,
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion carries. Next is our first public comment of the evening. The board welcomes public comment for any item, whether it is on the agenda or not. The board will listen to your comments and take them into consideration. If you desire conversation, please email the board or the town manager or attend the monthly coffee with the mayor. If you wish to speak during this public comment period, please adhere to the town's general guidelines. Please start by stating your full name and address for the record. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to address the Board of Trustees. If you are representing a group, you will have 5 minutes. Is there anyone here in the audience that would like to address the board this evening? Sir?
My name is Brad Hagan. I live at 238 Mulligan Lake Drive. I'm here tonight to ask the board for if you're aware of we've received a complaint from the town of Mead. It's a pretty big thing to get a legal complaint from the town you live in. I own interest in the 3 buildings right over here, 333 Main Street and 339 Main Street. We're not developers, we're not contractors. We bought into these buildings to hopefully for like a long-term investment, but also to help the town, get businesses going. My friend Don lives right next door. He's been helping us along, and so you've seen the progress we made. We made a lot of progress early on the outside, and I'm not here to say that we pulled every permit that we should have, because it's not the truth. I'm here to basically say that all we want to do is to move forward. We reconciled this last summer. I hired an architect to come in. I removed myself from it so that there wouldn't be any conflict with staff, because it seemed they thought I was ignoring them or whatever it was. So I just removed myself from it. And then, our architect who does this every day, his name is Peter Stewart Architecture. He's out of Lafayette. He's done buildings in Lafayette, in other towns throughout the Front Range, these redevelopment projects. It's a lot more work than I ever thought it was, redoing old buildings like that. These buildings have been there for 100 years, and we've done a lot of work to them. We put in hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of improvements. We were on a good track with our architect, interacting, making submittals. We weren't even involved anymore. I got pulled back into it because I was sent direct comments on some of the submittals he was making. And I didn't respond to him because I just figured he was copied on them too, or they'd be posted on the website and he would see them there. And then now we're under this complaint. We had moved 339, which is the north building, all the way through final inspection and awaiting fire inspection, and all that's been put on hold now. I don't know why. And presumably due to this complaint, they don't want to give us any more permits or any more reviews. So our whole project, we're losing about $6,000 a month paying the note on it, plus the utilities, plus the taxes. This is not something we want to drag out. We've been trying to get this done for the last 2 years. It's not a thing of malice that we didn't get the right permits. It's not been that way at all. But we did get a lot of permits and we did a lot of things right. We hired a structural engineer to review the old 100-year-old trusses that supported that south building. And he said, do this, it's maintenance. We weren't replacing them. All the trusses are still in place. We did other things to stiffen up the beams. That just what you do in an old building. I had no idea that required a permit. I just thought it was maintenance of our own building. And you know, we had asbestos testing done when we demoed things. We've turned in all the things, and since Peter was involved, my architect, we've progressed, and we've got tons of submittals. We've got submittals waiting to be reviewed. The electrical submittal, we had an electrical engineer do 2 separate submittals.
That's 3 minutes, sir.
So, I mean, we're making great progress, and we're just asking for an advocate on the board. We invite the staff to go over there, look in the buildings, tell us if they think something's unsafe. They claim there's unsafe conditions potentially over there. We'd love to see them. That building's safer now than it was for the last 50 years because we've stiffened the trusses. We've done the work. We've done all that stuff, and we're just trying to get people in there. We just are trying to get to a point where we can rent the place out again.
Sir, thank you very much for your comment tonight. Appreciate your
So
time.
What I'm asking for is a board advocate or a work session where we can show you all the stuff we've done. We haven't been sitting on our laurels. There's been electrical components with a 15-month lead time on orders. We can't control that stuff. The windows took a year. We ordered the windows. It took a year for them to get installed. We don't have any control over a lot of this stuff. So
Well,
that's my plea.
thank you. Mr. McCaslin, do you have any words of wisdom for us tonight on this?
Well, always on, right? Is that?
Not now.
I don't know about words of wisdom. I mean, Mr. Hagan's correct that the town has filed a complaint against, I believe it's Mead Victory Investments LLC, limited liability company, which is the owner of record of the property. This was originally going to be scheduled for municipal court in November, but it's been changed to, my understanding, it's been changed to the December municipal court date, given a request from counsel of record. I believe Brandy Caswell has entered an appearance on the defendant's behalf. So I would just advise the board not to really get into a back and forth with Mr. Hagan tonight, and let the judge ultimately do what he's going to do with the complaint based upon the facts that are presented at the December court date.
Thank you very much. And again, thank you very much for your comments tonight. I appreciate it. Mr. Smith, go ahead.
I've done a lot of work on the building. Oh, I'm sorry. Don Smith, 325 Main Street. Everybody here pretty much knows me. I've done a lot of work on that building. Brad's just invested a lot of money in that building. It's been sitting dead in the water right now. I talked to Doug at the last hearing, and he said he was going to get back to me and he would look at it for fire inspection because it's already passed all the other inspections on 339. He hasn't got back to me. I've talked to Janine. Janine says it's out of her hands. I haven't talked to Ellen yet. And I haven't talked to you either yet. But it seems to be dead in the water. 339 can move forward. There's no reason 339 can't move forward. The complaint is against 333. I can understand we wait for the hearing for 333, but why isn't 339 moving forward? And why is it dead in the water? And why hasn't Doug got back to me? I mean, you guys are in charge. And there's no reason he can't respond to us in emails or something. We can move on some of it. And then as far as the flat work in the back, I was told there wasn't a need for a site plan. Then I'm told there is a need for a site plan. I had concrete people lined up to do the concrete for months in advance. And then at the last minute, I was told we can't move forward on the concrete in the back either. It's not big enough for a drainage issue. So once again, that's stuck in the water too. So he spent a lot of money for a building that is sitting dead in the water. And there's no reason 339 shouldn't move forward.
Thank you, Don, very much for your time. Mary, is there anyone online that would like to speak to the board tonight?
No one has raised their hands.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to our consent agenda tonight. Consent agenda contains items which are considered routine and are approved with one motion and vote. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda as is.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Trustee Bradhead,
Yes.
trustee Parr,
Yes.
trustee Shranz,
Yes,
Mayor Pro Tem Cartwright,
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes, thank you. Motion carries. Thank you, staff, for putting the consent agenda items on with us for us tonight. Okay, next we'll move on to our public hearing, municipal code amendment. The public hearing tonight is regarding an ordinance amending sections of the Mead Municipal Code, regarding floor area ratio standards for development. We will hear from staff and then we will seek input from the public before the board considers this ordinance. The time now is 6:32 and I will open the public hearing, and for our staff presentation will be Mr. Colin Maris, our planner 2.
Thank you, Mayor. So Mayor Whitlow, trustees, tonight for your consideration, I'm bringing forward a couple of proposed staff initiated amendments to the land use code. So the major amendment that staff is proposing tonight to the land use code is to section 16.380, table 3.3. So this table identifies the basic density and dimensional standards for zoning districts. So some of these standards include maximum density, minimum lot sizes, required setbacks, maximum lot coverage, and maximum height. So table 3.3 also includes a maximum floor area ratio, or FAR for short, for each zoning district, which is what staff is proposing to have removed from the table. Staff had also made recommendations for changes to section 16.390E2, which identifies the permitted encroachments and exceptions to setbacks. So staff was proposing to create setbacks for non-foundational flat work. The Planning Commission voted unanimously not to adopt that resolution at their regular meeting on November 15th. So staff has elected not to move forward with that proposed amendment to section 16.390E2 and just move forward with the removal of FAR from table 3.3. So along with the proposed amendment removing FAR from the density and dimensional standards, there's just a couple of housekeeping amendments that remove FAR from other parts of the land use code. So these include an amendment to the definitions section of the land use code, which removes the FAR definition. An amendment to 16.380G that removes the explanation for how to measure FAR. As well as an amendment that removes the FAR standard for manufactured housing, which is housed in a different article than the density dimensional standards. So before we get too far into the proposed amendment, I just wanted to first give you a brief explanation of what floor area ratio is. So floor area ratio is the amount of floor area of a principal building on a lot divided by the total area of the lot. So for example, if you have a 25,000 square foot building on a 100,000 square foot lot, the FAR for that building would be 0.25. So in your packet tonight, I provided a couple of examples that show what different FARs look like with different variations of lot coverages and building story heights. So I included two of the examples on the bottom of the slide here. On the left, there's a 2-story building that takes up a quarter of the lot. So since it's 2 stories on a quarter of the lot, the floor area ratio would be 0.5. And then on the right, there's a 4-story building that takes up half the lot. So 4 stories on half a lot, the FAR would then be 2.0. And so FAR is typically used in higher density downtowns, like say downtown Denver, to control the intensity of development, since those lots are typically smaller with higher maximum heights than we currently have permitted in the town of Mead. So they need the FAR to control the intensity of that development. So here is table 3.3 from the land use code with the proposed change removing FAR from the table shown in red and highlighted. So as you can see, there's other standards included in the table that we're not touching, such as max lot coverage, max height, and setbacks. Those also control the intensity of development. We're just proposing to remove the FAR from the table. And so in order to make an amendment to the land use code, one of the 6 criteria identified in the code and shown in your packet must be met. So staff feels that the proposed amendment regarding FAR meets criterion number 2, which states that the change is necessary to accommodate the changing needs of the community and town staff. So staff feels that this criteria is met by the proposed amendment, as the application of FAR is redundant when combined with the other required dimensional standards. So as I mentioned earlier, the other standards that we have in place, such as maximum lot coverage, maximum height, on-site parking requirements, already restrict the intensity of development. So the addition of FAR on top of these other restrictions is ultimately unnecessary and can be burdensome for the development of property within the town. So the Planning Commission, after their public hearing on November 15th, unanimously voted to recommend approval of the proposed amendments to the Board of Trustees. Staff recommends that the Board of Trustees approve the proposed amendments to section 16.3.150, section 16.3.80, table 3.3, section 16.3.90G, as well as section 16.11.49 via the suggested motion included in your packet. And then I'm available for any questions as well.
Thanks, Colin. If there's a member of the public that would like to speak on this matter, I would request that you please adhere to the public hearing guidelines. If you are here with us virtually, please indicate by raising your hand, and we'll start by stating your name and address for the record. Is there anyone in the room that would like to comment on this public comment portion of this hearing? Okay, is there anyone with us virtually that would like to speak during this public comment portion?
No, there's not, Mayor.
Okay, thank you much. Do any of the trustees have comments or questions for staff? Herman?
I do. Colin, buddy, why are we doing this? We keep saying that there's redundancies, and I'm not sure I understand why we're taking floor area out of the picture. Can you explain?
Yeah, so this is just part of our end of the year code update cleanup. So we have updates that we noticed throughout time as we're working on developments that we just noticed that they don't need to be in the code. And so then we mark them to be taken out at some point. So this is really just a cleanup at the end of the year here.
I see it as more than a cleanup. I'm not, these things were put in place for a purpose. You keep mentioning that there's redundancies in it. I'm not sure I understand the redundancies. I'm concerned that by taking this out, it gives development a little freer hand in doing what they want to do. And I'm not sure I'm okay with that. I think the town needs to keep some finger on that pulse. So I'm not in favor of removing stuff just for the hell of removing it. It's not taking up any space, leaving it in the code. You know, I have not heard a compelling argument to remove them. Okay.
Mhm.
Have you used this in the past 3 years?
Have we like used the FAR as
Yeah.
a reason to
As a
deny
reason-
development? No, we have not.
Why not?
Because none of the developments have met the maximum FAR.
Okay, so it's never caused a restriction on any building. Is there something that any building that has currently being built would meet that FAR restriction if it was still in place?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
If, for example, I'm just gonna choose Mead Town Center because it's there. Would that exceed the FAR if it was still in place today?
Yeah, so Meadtown Center would not. So with the other restrictions that we have in place, such as maximum height, typically your development's 10 to 12 feet in height. So by the time you get 3 stories up, you're going to meet our 40-foot maximum height. So it won't exceed the floor area ratio that's in place.
So we're talking 3-story buildings. In a lot that size, we would never get to the FAR.
Theoretically, yeah.
Okay, because of our parking requirements and
Yeah.
everything else that goes along with that. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. All right, I'm in favor of removing it for cleanup since we haven't been using it. So I'm in favor of moving it forward on this, but I will ask for a motion regarding ordinance number 1049.
I move to approve ordinance number 1049, an ordinance of the town of Mead, Colorado, amending section 16-150, 16-380 and table 3.3, 16-390G and 16-1149 of the Mead Municipal Code regarding floor area ratio standards for development.
Second.
Okay, thank you very much. Roll call, please, Mary.
Trustee Parr,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cartwright,
Yes.
trustee Broadhead,
Yes.
trustee Shranz,
No,
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes. Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you for the discussion. Thank you for staff working on this and cleaning this, the code up. I will now close the public hearing. The time now is 6:42 and we'll move on to our last public comment of the evening. We have no further general business, so this brings us to this last agenda before we go into elected official reports. We'll follow the same guidelines previously stated and would anyone like to comment at this time? All right, we'll move on to our elected official reports. Any of the town trustees would like to bring up anything? Okay. I just want to say Saturday is Coffee with the Mayor and Christmas in the Park. I hope to see you all there. Bundle up. It should be a nice warm day. There you go. All right. All right, we're going to move into our executive session for this evening. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
I move that we move into an executive session.
Second.
To discuss personnel matters for which employee is consented.
Read all.
The matters that may be subject to negotiations, develop strategy for negotiations, and to instruct negotiators related to acquisition of certain properties and interests required for the 3rd Street Welker intersection improvement project, consistent with Town Resolution 34R 2023 dated May 8, 2023, and pursuant to CRS 24-6-402 4B for legal advice on specific legal questions regarding potential updates, amendments to the town's general guidelines for public comment at open meetings.
And before we get a second on that motion, I'd like to clarify that the first matter that is proposed for executive session to discuss personnel matters is pursuant to CRS 24-64024F. So with that, is there a second on the motion?
I am
Second.
All right. Roll call, please, Mary.
Trustee Shranz,
yes.
trustee Parr,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cartwright,
Yes.
trustee Broadhead,
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes. Motion carries. The time now is 6:45, and we will turn off the recording and adjourn into executive session. We will then restart the recording for the executive session.